Hey guys, what's going on? It's Ultimus, and we are back with more arenas. Skirms, actually, to be more specific. We are doing the arena skirms from the Skirmish event going on this past week. If you guys were unaware, there is a mage outside of the Violet Hold in New Dalaran. What it does, it gives you a quest for 10 skirms wins, which nets you a box, which is a chance, of course, for gear and other goodies. I just got potions out of mine, which kind of sucked. But you also get a token for some big booty artifact power, which is wonderful. And you also get about 1,000 honor, I believe. So definitely worth it. Except, I'm going to have some real talk here for a second as we're going to be going through these arena matches. I got 3 of them for you. Skirms are a lot more difficult than they were previously, and this is for a lot of factors, I think. They're not impossible, and I think part of this could just come specifically from the perspective of being a warrior. Warriors are in a fantastic spot damage-wise, but we're not so great defensive-wise, and so basically what that means, unless we're queuing up with a healer, which you cannot do in skirms and get 2s, or unless, of course, we're in a 3s bracket. Like, if you queue up with a healer, you're going to be put into a 3s bracket. Healers can play rated 2s, but they can't play skirmish 2s. So what that basically means is, again, as a warrior, unless I'm playing with the healer, I'm pretty much screwed. I literally played about 20 matches, double DPS, with a variety of different classes. Hunters, demon hunters. I played one with a paladin, another warrior. The most success I actually had was with a second warrior. But I believe that was actually the first clip we showed. But without a healer, I'm kind of screwed as a warrior, which I'm okay with. But skirms were a lot more difficult than I remembered them being. I remember rolling into skirms and just having a good old time, and it was a little bit easier. And that's not to say it's necessarily a bad thing or they're not enjoyable, but heads up on that one. It's very, very interesting. It's interesting, too, to me not being able to pick if you want to queue it for 2s or 3s for skirms. You just queue it for a skirmish, and then it puts you in whatever it finds you a spot for, so whether that's a 2v2 skirmish or a 3v3 skirmish. So that's kind of a bummer. I miss being able to pick which version of a skirmish I wanted to do, but I guess it could be a whole lot worse in all honesty. So all that to say, skirms are very, very interesting, but they're definitely a lot of fun. Just try my best to get as much PvP in as I can. It's still tough with timing, what time I play at, and then of course just finding people to play with for sure. But skirms are a fun way to get them in there and have some fun with doing it. Especially too, just trying to like shake all the rust off. I've been doing so much PvE this expansion that I'm kind of like, oh, do I remember how to PvP? So I'm definitely needing to get back into the swing of things, which is okay. We're still early in the expansion. We're still very early in the season where I'm not too worried about it. So that's very encouraging, I will say. But I do have more footage coming up for you guys very, very soon. I'm looking forward to getting that out there for you guys. I hope you guys are looking forward to it as well. This match in particular, now that we're done rambling for a little bit here, we're going to talk a little bit about the matches in particular. Our original plan was to, I believe, sit on the Boomy, if I'm not mistaken. But I saw a couple opportunities here to sit on the Shaman, and the Shaman was getting quite low. So since then, I swapped to the Shaman and pretty much sit on the Shaman for the rest of the game, trying to interrupt heals and you basically put CC on him as much as possible. Because the Shaman is getting very, very weak here. As you can see there, the Shaman was able to go down. I'm amazed at how strong Arms is with a healer. Obviously, Mistweaver Monks are a strong healer, don't get me wrong, and playing, double warrior healer, that's a lot of damage. But just, I feel like a completely different class when I play with a healer. I just feel like I'm a completely different machine, if that makes sense. I mean, it doesn't make it any easier, the fact that we're playing against a tanked demon hunter here, which in and of itself is very frustrating. The amount of tanks in PvP right now are very, very interesting. So yeah, obviously Boomy, Resto Shaman, and the Vengeance Demon Hunter, if I'm not mistaken. I think it's, Vengeance Havoc is the specs. So that's interesting. So you see a lot of that in skirms, a lot of prot paladins, a lot of prot warriors, again, tank spec, demon hunters. But my big thing right now that I'm trying to get back into the habit of doing is remembering my swaps, remembering the difference between, you know, primary target, optimal target, and that kind of stuff like that, knowing when to chase something around the map, when not to, which very rarely as a warrior should you be doing, like chasing something around a map, because obviously you're not doing any damage that way, and so forth and so forth. As you can see, he's trying to get the revive off here. We're not gonna let him. Sorry, you got 2 warriors. There's no way we're gonna let you get that revive off. Good try though, Young Dirty is his name. What do you guys think of the gear of this expansion? Like just the PvP gear and of course the raid gear, it all looks very, very similar. I'm not gonna lie, I wasn't a huge fan of the warrior stuff the first time I saw it. But now I'm kind of like, it's growing on me. It does feel very Diablo-esque, so that's kind of interesting and going in tune with how much we're already seeing as far as like the systems and stuff like that being applied from Diablo over to World of Warcraft. I'm looking at you, World Quest system. But anyways, this particular match we're up against what I believe is a jungle cleave, and it terrifies me. Mostly because Feral Druids are just insanely strong right now. But we have, of course, the Beastmastery Hunter and the Feral Druid and the Resto Druid. Interesting that they're rolling Double Druid, but at least in my opinion, from what I've seen, Double Druid is the one kind of class and spec you can stack up on without really worrying too much about diminishing the effectiveness of stacking that comp. Like you really wouldn't be able to stack, you know, 2 Paladins necessarily. And I mean, I guess you could actually this expansion because they've done such a good job of creating gaps between what different specs can do. So I suppose there's that. But really right now just wanting to sit on the Feral Druid. It's really wanting to sit and just destroy the Feral Druid. Really, mostly because I hate him because he's a Feral Druid, because Feral Druids are super strong right now. So I just want him to suffer, really. But all things considered too, he is our primary kill target. Eventually, if I remember the match correctly, as I'm commentating on this, as I'm watching it all unfold, I believe I do swap over to the Resto Druid eventually. I really want to, and one thing that I feel like Arms' does very well this expansion, which has always been Arms' strong suit, has been cleave damage. Being able to cleave stuff down so far that the healer has to pick between keeping himself or the other teammate alive, and usually whichever one he picks, the other one goes down. Especially if they don't line up their CC or their defensive cooldowns right. So that's kind of my primary goal right now. Sitting on the Hunter, who was our initial kill target, but I did sit on the Druid for a while there, and as you can see, we're getting them down quite low. The Hunter pulls the Feigned Death off, and I'm able to keep the damage pumping. A heroic leap on over. He does get the aspect of the turtle off, which is going to help keep him alive for a bit. I really don't want to swap targets. I want to sit back on to the Hunter, but I am seeing how low this Druid is, so I'm going to waddle on over there and hopefully get back onto the target real quickly, but I wasn't able to, so I had to wait till they come back around, which is fine because we got on them regardless. Obviously, using my artifact weapon ability on mass amounts of people for the Colossus Smash debuff is optimum, especially since I have the PvP talent that makes my Mortal Strike effect apply to all targets in the area. But sometimes you just need to get that damage buff on, or debuff on the target. And so that's kind of where I'm coming from with that one. But you're just trying to use Bladestorm here defensively. I'm finding that Bladestorm does okay damage in PvP, not nearly as good as it does in PvE. So at the moment, Bladestorm is definitely more of a defensive cooldown, just basically helps keep you out of roots, break you out of roots, and then keep you from being stunned, which still has its purposes and has its uses. I don't know, it's a bummer. On one end it's great, on another end I'm like, and I miss Bladestorm doing a ton of damage. It still destroys rogues, don't get me wrong. But I digress. The Druid's up here on top of the pillar, or on top of the platform, trying to get away from us. Wasn't really able to get up there fast enough. Luckily they dropped down, so I'm able to stick back onto the targets. Switching back over to, of course, the Feral Druid right now, taking a lot of damage. I've got a couple seconds left on Die by the Sword, so I'm really not in an exciting place right now. Remembering to actually stay in defensive stance is really helping me a lot this game, and as you can see, we're able to swap over to the Resto Druid and get the kill. But I'm glad and I'm kind of proud of myself that I'm remembering to stay in defensive stance this season so far and not forgetting to swap over, especially because it has a 10-second cooldown on it now, so it's not something you just want to swap to in and out of willy-nilly. You really want to be very methodical about it, and it's almost more important than ever to know when to swap over because you're going to be stuck there for 10 seconds. So, all the rambling aside, some thoughts on Skirms and PvP so far, and then of course commentating matches. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you guys are looking forward to more PvP and more WoW content in general coming up very, very soon. But as always, guys, thank you so much for watching, and I'll catch you next time.